Hi, I'm back again. It's Jackie from Stitchhouse. We were so busy last week that we didn't have time to film my little segment, Fun Fact Friday, but it's Wednesday, so we'll do it today. Why not? Let me take my mask off while we chat. I thought we'd talk about fabric today, and I'm a little concerned because Brian, while I'm on this side of the cutting table, Brian is going under the cutting table.
Excuse me.
Do you think that is concerning to anybody? All right, so let's look at fabric for just a minute. There are some things that you probably know, so I won't spend a lot of time on them, but fabric has selvage edges, so each side of the fabric here and here is a selvage edge, and then any line that is parallel to the selvage edge is considered straight of grain, and any line that is perpendicular to the selvage edge at a right angle to the selvage edge is considered crosswise grain. And when you bring the crosswise grain to the selvage or lengthwise grain, you have bias. Bias always has the most stretch. Crosswise grain has a pretty good stretch to it. The least stretch on any fabric is lengthwise grain. And let me give you a little hint right here. If you like to do log cabins or any variations of log cabin, you can get your most perfect log cabin by cutting your strips on the lengthwise grain. Almost all of us as quilters cut strips crosswise, but remember there's more stretch on the crosswise grain. So perfection on log cabins and all variations of them, try to cut your logs on the lengthwise grain. Just a little hint there. Okay, so I want to talk too about the quality of fabric, and I kind of have to go backwards a bit and talk about how we get fabric to this point. Fabric starts off as what is called, I don't know how to say it, something goods. I do know that
gray goods.
That word comes from a French word, and I don't know how to say this word either. But I do know that it means raw, as in raw silk. So, for my purposes and your purposes, we can say gray goods with an E, or if you prefer, you can say gray goods with an A. Totally up to us. We have options there. Isn't that nice? Always options when you sew. So what are gray goods? Gray goods are woven fabric that have not been bleached, have not been dyed, have not been colored or bleached in any way. Gray goods are kind of a funky color. Except when it's a modern color and is used in home dec a lot, then it's very popular color. But gray goods are not gray and they are not beige. It's kind of in between. But there is a vast difference in the quality of the gray goods. So let's talk about that a little bit. The cross or the lengthwise threads on your fabric are called the warp threads. I used to always get confused about which threads were the warp threads and which threads were the weft threads. It's kind of like being on a boat. I never have figured out what the aft is and what each side of the boat is, but I don't care about that. I cared about the warp and the weft, and I don't know that I needed to, but let me tell you how I figured it out finally. I was thinking about it one day a few years ago, because it's taken me this long, I'll tell you, and I could determine that the warp threads were the lengthwise because I looked it up on the internet. And then I could determine that the other threads were the weft threads. So the weft threads go from side to side from salvage to salvage, side to side, right to left, right to weft, right to weft, weft to right. Weft threads go sideways from the salvage to salvage. Now, do you need to know that? No, but if it bothers you, now you do. Weft to right. Those are your weft threads. All right. So, how many weft and warp threads go into the gray goods determine the quality of the fabric. You never want fabrics that are less than a total of 100 threads per inch, and the inch means a square inch. So 100 threads per inch would give you 50 threads generally in one direction, the weft direction, and 50 threads in the warp direction. If you can hold the fabric up to the light, and I'm pointing this fabric at Brian, and fortunately I can't see him, so this is a quality fabric. If I could see through that fabric and see Brian, I would be concerned about that fabric.
Yes.
60 by 60, which is 120 threads per inch, is a good quality fabric. Now, how do you know what's a good quality fabric besides trying to look at it through here? And that's a good way, let me tell you. Another way is always buy your fabric from a local shop, from an independent shop. People like Jessica are dedicated to buying quality fabric for you. They care about your quilts. They care about your sewing. They want you sewing with the good stuff. They want your goods to be around in 100 years if you are a quilter. Let me show you something here. I've saved this piece of an old quilt for years and years. And if you look at it closely, that's actually the batting showing through. This fabric has no batting showing through. This is the difference between poor fabric and good fabric. And you may not care that your quilts are around in 100 years, but there are people who do care. I care, Jessica cares. There's probably people in your family who care. And even if you sew just for yourself, somebody will find your quilts and want them to be in good shape in 100 years.
That's right, just like Jackie's baby blanket. Got to be at least 100 years old.
Get out of Jackie's video.
Just such a bad
Leave
guy.
Jackie alone. Okay.
So I think the quality of the fabric that you sew on is so very, very important. It also gives you a better experience because the hand is always nicer. There's a lot of processes that the fabric goes through between the gray goods and becoming fabric like this. Let me show you this. I think I will. Yes. So in the background on this picture, I have gray goods. The circle over here indicates that that fabric has been bleached. So it's white fabric now. The fabric over here has been printed, and so it has a print on it. Down here, the fabric was bleached, white, and then printed. There's also other processes, and we won't go into too much of that, but there's finishing, there's processes that will keep the fabric from shrinking when it's washed. There's a lot of processes, and the more processes that go into the quality fabric, yes, the more you'll pay for it. But please decide that it's worth it, because we think you are worth it. You can see that this fabric has been printed, and we know it's printed because it has white or whitish color on the back. This is fabric where the yarn was dyed. These are yarn dyed fabrics. And so you see the same color on both sides when you have a yarn dyed. These are generally more expensive fabrics because it's a more expensive process to dye the yarns first and then create the fabric. I don't think Jessica knows that because I don't think she has a high enough price on these these yarn dyes, but we won't
We
tell
can
her.
raise it.
Brian says we can raise it.
Brian, you're not going to be the favorite anymore. Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to encourage you a little bit about the quality of fabric that you purchase and use, and hopefully I've encouraged you to look for good quality fabric and use it and enjoy it, so it'll be around for a long, long time. While we're here, I did want to show you this. We've looked at this fabric. Do you recognize what it is? This is the Tula pink fabric that Peg used to make her machine cover. And we have got it, we've restocked it. We have it in purple, we have it in the same teal color, and then we have it in a blue color. So run in and get your Tula pink machine fabric as soon as you can. Can I give them a little discount on this, on any Tula pink fabric? All right, so between now and
Your next video.
Your next video.
my next video, you can buy any Tula pink fabric in the store for 20% off.
And they have to provide the code word, which is Jackie Rocks.
I want to show you one other thing. In case you're interested in more information on fabric and the processes that are involved in creating the fabric, this is a book by Harriet Hargrave, and as some of you know that name because she's quite a famous quilter. I believe that this book is out of print, but you can order it on Amazon and they will print it onto regular paper as they receive orders. It's called From Fabric to Fiber, the Essential Guide to Quilt Making Textiles. So it's just textiles in general. Also gives you some neat information on how to determine the fiber of the textile. And I've always liked that kind of thing too. So that's all I know today. Thank you all.